All right, let's just jump right in. When I say the word adventure, whose face pops into your head? For most of us, it's this guy, Bear Grylls. He literally turned things like eating bugs and jumping out of helicopters into a global brand. But the real adventure, it might just be how he built his incredible business empire.
And yeah, that empire is worth a staggering amount. As of this year, his estimated net worth is right around $30 million. Just let that sink in. 30 million. Not bad for a guy who's famous for, sleeping inside a dead camel.
So how in the world does that happen? How does a man famous for extreme survival build a fortune like that? That's the big question we're tackling today. This isn't just a story about surviving in the wild. Nope, it's about thriving in the world of media, branding, and business. So let's break it down.
Okay, so every empire has to be built on a solid foundation, right? For Bear Grylls, that foundation is one single crucial thing: authenticity. Seriously, it's like the currency his entire brand trades on, and it all started way before any cameras were even around.
And that brings us to the question that, let's be honest, comes up all the time. Was he actually in the SAS? I mean, this is kind of the whole linchpin of his credibility, right? So let's just tackle it head on.
The short answer? Yep, absolutely. He served for 3 years in the 21 SAS, which is a reserve unit of Britain's elite special forces. And look, this wasn't just some line item on his resume. No way. This experience became the absolute core of his public identity. It's the bedrock of that authenticity we were just talking about.
And his personal story? Well, it's pretty incredible. You've got him joining the SAS, learning these insane skills, but then in '96, a parachute accident goes horribly wrong. He breaks his back in 3 places. Doctors weren't even sure he'd walk again. And yet, just a decade later, he launches Man vs. Wild and becomes a global star. That whole arc, the training, the accident, the comeback, it's the perfect hero's journey.
Okay, so he's got the hit show, he's a household name, but here's where the business genius really kicks in. To build an empire, you can't just stand still, you have to evolve. And that is exactly what he did. He made a really smart pivot from pure hardcore survival to something with a much bigger audience. It's almost like there are 2 sides to the Bear Grylls brand coin. On one side, you've got the OG bear, the survivalist, scaling cliffs, eating bugs, all the raw stuff. But then you flip the coin and you've got the entertainer, the guide who takes A-list celebrities out of their comfort zone. And this was a brilliant move because he kept his core credibility but opened the door to millions of new fans.
I mean, just look at shows like Running Wild or the new Celebrity Bear Hunt. They're perfect examples of this shift. He's not just looking into the camera telling us how to survive anymore. He's showing Will Ferrell and Bradley Cooper how to do it. The focus changes, right? It becomes less about pure survival skills and more about the fun, the spectacle, the entertainment.
Now, of course, whenever you make a big change like that, there's always a risk, You risk ticking off your original fans. People start asking, has he sold out? Is this all just too commercial, too fake now?
Well, this one comment I saw on Reddit kind of hits the nail on the head. A user said, "I enjoyed it. It's silly, a little staged, but if you take it for what it is, it's fun." And that's it right there. People get it. They know it's not the same raw deal as the old shows. They see it's entertainment, and they're totally cool with that. The key is his audience evolved right along with him.
Okay, so let's recap. He built the authentic brand. Check. He evolved it and brought the audience with him. Check. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, the money. How do you actually turn all that fame into a real, diversified, multi-million-dollar business?
Yeah, if you think he's just cashing a TV host's paycheck, you are missing the big picture. Far from it. Think of the TV shows as the giant marketing engine. They're what fuel a much bigger business machine that's pulling in cash from all over the place.
And this is what that machine looks like. Of course, you've got the hit TV shows. Then you've got books. I mean, the guy sold over 20 million of them. He has his own lines of outdoor gear, from knives to jackets. He's a huge draw on the corporate speaking circuit, and he does big brand partnerships. The genius part is how it all connects. The show sells the books sell the gear. It's a perfect cycle.
And speaking of those gigs, get this. For just one speaking engagement, Bear can pull in over $100,000. 100 grand. That just goes to show you how much the corporate world values his message of resilience and adventure. It's incredible.
And do you think he's slowing down? Not a chance. This year, he's launching a brand new show, Adventure Garage, partnering with Real Truck to basically build these insane, mission-ready vehicles. It's another super smart brand extension, tapping into that huge market for auto accessories.
Okay, so we've gone deep on the business side of things, but I want to touch on one last thing that just seems a little too perfect. His name, Bear Grylls. Come on, you gotta wonder, was he actually born with a name that perfect for an adventurer?
The answer is nope. His real name is Edward Michael Grylls. He got the nickname Bear from his older sister when he was just a week old. It's a funny little detail, but it's just wild how perfectly it ended up fitting the global brand he was destined to build.
So when you put it all together, what do you have? You have a guy who starts with this incredible, real-world foundation in the Special Forces. He uses that to launch a media career, then smartly pivots to bring in a massive audience, and finally turns all that fame into a diversified, money-making empire.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this whole story matter? It's really about the power of an authentic brand. He proved that even when you package something up as entertainment, as long as it's anchored in something real, in his case, his military background, it works. He never lost that core credibility. Which kind of leaves us with one final big question, especially for the world we live in today. Bear Grylls built his entire brand on a foundation of real hard-earned skills. But do you still need that? In this age of influencers, is the ultimate brand built on what you can actually do, or is it built on who you can convince people you are? It's definitely something to think about.